I was naked, dripping wet, and the door swung open. Oliver stood there, his eyes wide, frozen in the doorway of my tiny Brooklyn apartment, a pizza box teetering in his hands. My heart stopped, but it wasn't the embarrassment. It was the way he looked at me, like he saw something more than my bare skin. The day had started like any other in the summer of 2024, humid and relentless. I, Ezra Cohen, a 25-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for overthinking, was rushing to get ready for a rare evening with friends. My apartment, a fifth-floor walk-up in Williamsburg, was a chaotic haven of half-finished sketches and thrift store furniture. The shower was my only refuge from the heat, and I just stepped out, towel forgotten on the couch, when Oliver burst in. Oliver Nguyen, 26, was my neighbor, my occasional coffee buddy, and the guy who'd been quietly unraveling my carefully guarded heart for months. He was a freelance photographer, all sharp cheekbones and quiet confidence, with a laugh that could make even my worst days feel lighter. We'd met in the laundry room 6 months ago, bonding over a broken washing machine and a shared love for old jazz records. Since then, our friendship had grown into something unspoken, teetering on the edge of more. Ezra, oh God, Oliver stammered, his face flushing as he averted his eyes. The pizza box hit the floor with a dull thud. I'm so sorry. I thought you said come in. I grabbed the nearest thing, a throw pillow, and held it in front of me, my cheeks burning. I said I'm in the shower, not come in. My voice cracked, half laughing, half mortified. But then Oliver did something I didn't expect. Instead of bolting or cracking a joke, he looked back at me, his dark eyes softening. You're okay, right? He asked, his voice low, like he was checking on my soul, not just my state of undress. It was the kind of question that cut through the awkwardness, straight to the core of me. I nodded, clutching the pillow tighter. Yeah, just naked and mortified. He smiled, a small, crooked thing that made my chest ache. You're still you, Ezra, naked or not. He picked up the pizza box, setting it on my cluttered counter, and turned away to give me privacy. But that moment, his gentle words, his unflinching care, stayed with me, a spark in the chaos of my life. The rest of the evening was a blur of pizza, laughter, and stolen glances. Our friends, Lila, a 24-year-old barista with a penchant for dyeing her hair every color of the rainbow, and Marcus, a 27-year-old nurse with a dry sense of humor, showed up soon after. We sprawled across my tiny living room, trading stories and debating the best dive bars in Brooklyn. But all I could think about was Oliver's reaction, the way he'd seen me at my most vulnerable and didn't flinch. As the night wound down, Oliver lingered after Lila and Marcus left. He helped me stack plates in the sink, his shoulder brushing mine in the cramped kitchen. You okay? He asked again, quieter this time, his eyes searching mine. I wanted to tell him everything. How his presence made my apartment feel less empty. How I'd been terrified to name the feelings growing between us. Instead, I just nodded. Yeah, thanks for not making it weird earlier. He laughed, a soft sound that warmed the air. Ezra, you make it impossible to make things weird. He paused, his fingers lingering on the edge of the counter. I'm glad I'm here, with you. My heart stuttered. I wanted to ask what he meant, to bridge the gap between friendship and something more. But fear of rejection, of ruining what we had, kept me silent. I just smiled and said, me too. The next morning, I woke to a text from Oliver. Coffee at Bean and Leaf? 10 a.m.? My stomach flipped. It was our usual spot, a cozy cafe 2 blocks away, but something about the invitation felt different, charged with possibility. Bean and Leaf was buzzing when I arrived, the air thick with the scent of espresso and fresh pastries. Oliver was already there, sitting by the window, his camera resting on the table. He wore a faded denim jacket, his dark hair falling into his eyes as he scribbled in a notebook. He looked up as I approached, his smile instant and unguarded. "Morning," he said, pushing a latte toward me. "I ordered for you. Hope that's okay." "More than okay," I replied, sliding into the seat across from him. The latte was perfect, oat milk extra shot just how I liked it. "You're too good at this." He grinned, but there was a nervous edge to it. "Ezra, can I ask you something?" My pulse quickened. "Sure." He leaned forward, his voice low. "Last night when I walked in, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, but I meant what I said. You're still you, and I like who you are." The words hung between us, heavy with meaning. I wanted to tell him I felt the same, that I'd been falling for him since the day we met. But before I could speak, the cafe door swung open, and a familiar voice cut through the moment. "Ezra? Oh my God! Is that you?" It was Julian, my ex-boyfriend, standing there in all his polished Ivy League glory. Julian Carter, 28, was a lawyer with a knack for showing up at the worst possible times. We dated for a year, a whirlwind of passion and fights that ended when I realized his love came with conditions. Conditions I could never meet. "Julian," I said, my voice tight, "what are you doing here?" He grinned, oblivious to the tension. "Just grabbing coffee. Didn't expect to see you." His eyes flicked to Oliver, sizing him up. "Who's this?" Oliver's jaw tightened, but he extended a hand. "Oliver, friend of Ezra's." Julian's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Right, friend." He turned to me, his tone dripping with familiarity. "You look good, Easy. We should catch up." I felt Oliver's gaze on me, steady and questioning. My past and present were colliding, and I wasn't sure how to navigate the wreckage. The encounter with Julian threw me off balance. As we left the cafe, Oliver was quieter than usual, his hands stuffed in his pockets. "You okay?" he asked, echoing his question from the night before. "Yeah." I lied, my mind racing. Julian's reappearance stirred up old wounds. His criticism of my messy life, his insistence that I wasn't enough. I didn't want Oliver to see me through that lens. But Oliver stopped walking, turning to face me on the bustling sidewalk. "Ezra, you don't have to tell me everything, but I'm here, okay?" His sincerity cracked something open in me. I nodded, my throat tight. "Okay." That night, alone in my apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting. Oliver's kindness, his quiet strength, was a contrast to Julian's polished cruelty. I wanted to be brave, to tell Oliver how I felt, but fear clung to me, whispering that I'd ruin everything. I didn't know then that the next few days would test us both, forcing us to confront our fears and our hearts in ways neither of us expected. The following days were a tightrope walk of hope and hesitation. Oliver and I fell back into our rhythm, coffee runs, late-night talks about everything from Miles Davis to our dreams of escaping the city someday. But Julian's shadow lingered, a reminder of my past mistakes and the fear that I wasn't enough for someone like Oliver. One evening, I found myself at Oliver's apartment, a cozy space filled with vintage cameras and stacks of photo prints. He was developing film in his makeshift darkroom, a closet he'd converted with red lights and trays of chemicals. I sat on his couch, flipping through a stack of his photos, each one a window into his world. A child laughing in a park, a rain-soaked street at dusk, a candid of me at Bean and Leaf, my head tilted back in laughter. "You kept this?" I asked, holding up the photo of myself. Oliver emerged from the darkroom, wiping his hands on a rag. "Of course, it's one of my favorites." His voice was soft, but his eyes held something deeper, something that made my heart race. I set the photo down, suddenly nervous. Why? He hesitated, then sat beside me, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his arm. Because it's you, Ezra. You're real. You laugh like you mean it, even when you're scared. I see that in you. His words hit me like a tidal wave. I wanted to lean into him to close the distance between us. But Julian's voice echoed in my mind. You're too much, Ezra. Too messy. I pulled back, my fingers twisting in my lap. I'm not always that person, I said quietly. You don't know everything about me. Then tell me, Oliver said, his voice steady. I want to know. I took a breath, the weight of my past pressing against my chest. My ex-Julian. He made me feel like I was never enough. Too emotional, too chaotic. I'm scared I'll mess this up, whatever this is. Oliver's hand found mine, his touch gentle but firm. Ezra, you're not a mess. You're human. And I'm not him. The air between us crackled with possibility. I looked into his eyes, searching for a reason to pull away, but all I found was warmth. I leaned forward, my heart pounding, and for a moment, I thought he'd meet me halfway. But then his phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He glanced at the screen, his face tightening. It's my sister, Lynn. I need to take this. As he stepped away to answer the call, I felt a pang of disappointment, mingled with relief. The moment had been too much, too soon. But as I watched him pace, speaking softly in Vietnamese, I realized how much I wanted to be part of his world. Not just as a friend, but as something more. Lynn's call turned out to be more than a check-in. Oliver's older sister, 30, lived in Seattle and had been struggling with her mental health for years. She'd been hospitalized after a rough night, and Oliver was rattled. She's okay now, he told me later, his voice heavy. But I need to go see her. Make sure she's really okay. When do you leave? I asked, my stomach sinking at the thought of him being gone. Tomorrow morning, he said. I'll be back in a few days. I nodded, trying to hide my disappointment. Let me know if you need anything. Okay? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Thanks, Ezra. I will. The next few days without Oliver felt empty. I threw myself into work, designing logos for a local bookstore, but my mind kept drifting to him. I wondered what he was feeling, if he was thinking of me the way I was thinking of him. Late at night, I'd scroll through his Instagram, lingering on photos of his trip, candids of Seattle's waterfront, a selfie with Lynn, her smile fragile but real. On the third day, I got a text from Julian. Hey, Easy, can we talk? I'm in the neighborhood. My first instinct was to ignore it, but curiosity, and maybe a need to prove I'd moved on, got the better of me. We met at a park near my apartment, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. Julian looked the same, polished, confident, his blonde hair perfectly styled. I've been thinking about you, he said, his voice smooth. I messed up, Ezra. I want another chance. I stared at him, the words I'd once longed to hear now feeling hollow. Julian, we're done. You didn't want me as I am. He stepped closer, his hand brushing my arm. I've changed. I see you now. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Oliver, back tonight. Can I see you? My heart leapt, and I stepped back from Julian. I've gotta go, I said, turning away. Ezra, wait, Julian called. But I was already walking, my pulse racing with the promise of Oliver's return. That night, Oliver showed up at my door, his duffel bag slung over his shoulder. He looked tired, but his smile was warm. Miss me? He teased, stepping inside. More than you know, I admitted, the words slipping out before I could stop them. He paused, his eyes locking onto mine. Good, because I missed you too. We sat on my couch, the space between us charged with everything unsaid. He told me about Lynn, how she was starting therapy, how he felt helpless but hopeful. I listened, my heart aching for him, for the weight he carried so quietly. "Ezra," he said finally, his voice low, "I don't want to keep dancing around this. I like you. A lot. And I think you feel something too." My breath caught. This was it, the moment I'd been both dreading and craving. I could feel Julian's shadow lurking, warning me I'd ruin this. But Oliver's eyes were steady, anchoring me. "I do," I whispered. "But I'm scared. I don't want to mess this up." He reached for my hand, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. "Then let's figure it out together." Before I could overthink it, I leaned in, and this time he met me halfway. Our lips touched, tentative at first, then deeper, a quiet promise in the chaos of my apartment. It was messy, imperfect, and everything I'd been too afraid to hope for. The kiss changed everything. It was like a dam breaking, releasing months of unspoken feelings into a single, electric moment. Oliver's hand cupped my face, his touch gentle but sure, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as a mess, but as enough. We pulled back, breathless, our foreheads resting together. "Okay," Oliver said, a smile tugging at his lips. "That was worth the wait." I laughed, the sound shaky but real. Yeah, it was. But even as we sat there, tangled in the glow of something new, doubt crept in. Julian's words from the park echoed. "I see you now." What if Oliver, like Julian, eventually saw too much of me? The chaos, the insecurities, and walked away. I pushed the thought down, focusing on the warmth of Oliver's hand in mine. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of discovery. Oliver and I were cautious but unstoppable, stealing moments between our busy lives. We'd wander Brooklyn streets, sharing earbuds and listening to Coltrane, or spend evenings in his apartment, cooking terrible stir-fries and laughing until our sides hurt. He'd show me his latest photos, and I'd share my sketches, our worlds blending in ways that felt both thrilling and terrifying. But Julian wasn't done with me. He texted relentlessly, each message a mix of charm and manipulation. "I miss you, Easy. Let's just talk." I ignored most of them, but the weight of his presence grew heavier, a reminder of the pain I'd worked so hard to leave behind. One Saturday, Oliver and I planned a day trip to Coney Island. The boardwalk was alive with summer energy. Kids screaming on rides, the scent of fried food in the air. Oliver, in a faded t-shirt and sunglasses, looked effortlessly beautiful, his camera slung around his neck. He snapped photos of me against the ocean, laughing as I struck ridiculous poses. "Hold still," he said, adjusting his lens. "You're perfect right there." My heart fluttered, but before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Another text from Julian. "I'm in Brooklyn. Can we meet? I need to see you." I froze, the joy of the moment draining away. Oliver noticed, his brow furrowing. "Everything okay?" I hesitated, then showed him the text. "It's Julian. He won't stop." Oliver's expression darkened, but he kept his voice calm. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I just want him to leave me alone." He took my hand, his grip steady. "Then tell him, you don't owe him anything, Ezra." His words gave me strength. That night, back in my apartment, I typed a response to Julian. "We're done. Please stop contacting me." My hands shook as I hit send, but Oliver was there, his presence a quiet anchor. The relief was short-lived. 2 days later, I got a call from Lila. "Ezra, you need to see this," she said, her voice urgent. She sent me a link to an Instagram post, a photo of me and Oliver at Coney Island, one of Oliver's candid shots. The caption, posted by an anonymous account, read, "Ezra Cohen's new fling. Guess he moves on fast." My stomach dropped. The comments were vicious, speculating about my life, my worth, my relationship with Oliver. I recognized Julian's handiwork immediately. His petty, vindictive streak was unmistakable. Oliver was at my side when I showed him the post. "This is him, isn't it?" he asked, his voice tight. I nodded, shame burning my cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to drag you into this." "Hey," Oliver said, tilting my chin up. "You didn't do anything wrong. He's the one who's out of line." We reported the account, but the damage was done. The post spread, and whispers followed me. At work, at Bean and Leaf, even in my own building. I felt exposed, like I was naked all over again, but this time, there was no pillow to hide behind. Oliver, though, never wavered. He'd hold my hand in public, his defiance quiet but fierce. "Let them talk," he'd say. "They don't know us." But the pressure was building. I started pulling away, canceling plans, burying myself in work. Oliver noticed, of course, he always did. One night, he showed up at my door, his eyes serious. "Ezra, talk to me," he said. "You're shutting me out." I wanted to tell him I was scared, that Julian's cruelty had reopened old wounds, but the words stuck in my throat. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just busy." He didn't buy it, but he didn't push. "I'm here when you're ready," he said, kissing my forehead before leaving. Alone, I sank onto my couch, the weight of my fears crushing me. I wanted to be brave for Oliver, but Julian's shadow felt inescapable. I didn't know how to fight it or if I even could. The next morning, I woke to a voicemail from Julian. His voice was smooth, almost apologetic, but it sent a chill down my spine. "Ezra, I saw the post. I didn't mean for things to get out of hand. Let's meet. I just want to clear the air." I deleted it, my hands trembling. But the damage was spreading. At work, my boss pulled me aside, her expression tense. "Ezra, some clients saw that Instagram post. They're concerned about your professionalism." I stared at her, my heart sinking. "It's not true. It's just someone trying to hurt me." She nodded, but her eyes were skeptical. "Just keep your personal life out of the spotlight, okay?" I left her office feeling like I was unraveling. Julian's vendetta was costing me more than my peace. It was threatening my livelihood. I wanted to call Oliver, to lean on his strength, but shame kept me silent. What if he got tired of the drama? What if he saw me the way Julian did? That evening, I met Lila and Marcus at a dive bar to escape my thoughts. Lila, her hair now a vibrant purple, slid a beer toward me. "You look like hell, Easy. What's going on?" I told them everything, the post, Julian's voicemail, the conversation with my boss. Marcus frowned, his usually calm demeanor cracking. "This guy's a creep. You need to confront him." "I can't," I said, my voice breaking. "What if it makes things worse?" Lila leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "Ezra, you're stronger than this. You've got Oliver, you've got us. Don't let Julian win." Her words stuck with me, but fear still gnawed at my edges. When I got home, Oliver was waiting outside my building, his camera bag slung over his shoulder. "You didn't answer my texts," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "I was worried." "I'm sorry," I said, avoiding his eyes. "It's just a lot." He stepped closer, his hand brushing my arm. "Ezra, you don't have to do this alone. Let me in." Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to believe him, to trust that he could handle my mess. But Julian's voice was louder, reminding me I was too much. "I don't know how," I whispered. Oliver pulled me into a hug, his arms steady around me. "Then I'll wait until you do." The next day, I made a decision. I couldn't let Julian control my life anymore. With Oliver's encouragement, I agreed to meet him, but on my terms, at Bean and Leaf in public with Oliver nearby for support. Julian arrived looking polished as ever, his smile calculated. "Ezra, I'm glad you came," he said, sitting across from me. "I didn't mean for that post to go so far. I was hurt. Okay? Seeing you with him. You don't get to be hurt," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "You ended us. And now you're trying to ruin my life." He leaned back, his expression hardening. "I just wanted you to see what you're throwing away. That guy, Oliver? He's not right for you. That's not your call," I said, standing. "Stay out of my life, Julian. I mean it." I walked away, my heart pounding but lighter. Oliver was waiting outside, his eyes searching mine. "You okay?" I nodded, a small smile breaking through. "Yeah, I think I am." That night, Oliver and I sat on my fire escape, the city humming below us. The air was warm, the sky streaked with pink and gold. He took my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine. "I'm proud of you," he said. "That took guts." I looked at him, the weight of the past weeks falling away. "I couldn't have done it without you." He smiled, leaning closer. "You're stronger than you think, Ezra. And I'm not going anywhere." We kissed again, the city lights blurring around us. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. A moment of courage, of connection, of choosing each other despite the chaos. The weeks that followed were a quiet revolution. Julian's messages stopped, and the Instagram post faded into the background noise of the internet. My boss eased up, impressed by a new project I'd poured my heart into. But the real change was in me. With Oliver by my side, I was learning to trust. Not just him, but myself. We spent our days building something real. Mornings at Bean and Leaf, evenings cooking in my cramped kitchen, weekends exploring the city. Oliver's photos started including more of us. Candid shots of me sketching, of us laughing on the subway, of our hands intertwined. Each one was a reminder that we were writing our own story, one frame at a time. But life wasn't done testing us. One evening, Oliver got a call from Lynn. Her therapy was helping, but she needed him in Seattle again. "It's just for a week," he said, his eyes apologetic. "I hate leaving you." "I'll be okay," I said, meaning it this time. "Go be with her." While he was gone, I faced my own challenges. A client dropped me, citing personal concerns, a lingering echo of Julian's post. Stung, but I didn't spiral. Instead, I reached out to new clients, my confidence bolstered by Oliver's belief in me. When he returned, he brought a small photo album, a collection of prints from our time together. "I made this for you," he said, handing it to me. "So you never forget how I see you." I flipped through the pages, tears blurring my vision. There I was, laughing, sketching, living. Not a mess, but a person, flawed and beautiful. "Oliver," I said, my voice thick, "this is everything." He pulled me close, his lips brushing my temple. "You're everything." Months later, we stood together at a small gallery show, Oliver's first solo exhibition. His photos lined the walls, vibrant and raw, telling stories of love, loss, and resilience. The centerpiece was a shot of us on my fire escape, our silhouettes against the sunset, hands clasped. The title card read, "Found in Chaos." Lila and Marcus were there, cheering louder than anyone. Lynn flew in from Seattle, her smile brighter than I'd ever seen. As I watched Oliver move through the crowd, his quiet confidence lighting up the room, I realized something. Love wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, naked and afraid, and choosing each other anyway. That night, back in my apartment, we stood in the same spot where it all began, where Oliver walked in and saw me, truly saw me. "I love you," I said, the words spilling out, fearless. He smiled, his eyes shining. "I love you too, Ezra. Always will." And as we kissed, the city humming outside, I knew we'd face whatever came next, together. Because Oliver's reaction that day, his quiet acceptance, had taught me the most important lesson. Love doesn't demand perfection. It demands courage, and we had that in spades.